Consider that my reminder to ask Mike to make us an LP Movie Club intro countdown video.
I've been meaning to ask, what is that weird snow falling upward supposed to be?
You should ask the people at StreamYard who made that as a default countdown video. I don't know.
Right.
Hence why I asked you to make us intro videos. Okay. So, Alex, we're here and we got Mike. We're here to talk about A Christmas Carol, Disney's Image Movers digital adaptation, motion captured
3D
film.
Spectacular.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Alex, Mr. Movie Guy?
I like this as a film. Every time I watch it, which usually there's about 2 holidays, like two Christmas seasons, like I rotate this out every other year. Every time I watch it, it gets more and more hard to watch in terms of the animation because technology has come so far. And so what I like about it is it's more true to the Charles Dickens book. I like what I really like is the camera moves in this one in particular. If you have a 3D TV or if you saw it in 3D in the theaters, this one was like made for 3D. It's not just one of those where they did a 3D version to charge you a couple extra bucks. Like Robert Zemeckis had 3D in mind, and you can tell through the way that he composes most of his shots and some of the digital trickery that they do. In general, I enjoy it, but it's far from my favorite film adaptation of Christmas Carol.
Mike?
Yeah, I hadn't seen this before Friday night when we watched it, and that's surprising to me because I'm a fan of Robert Zemeckis. You know, Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies ever, and I love, some of his other movies, Castaway and Roger Rabbit and stuff. And I like
Mars
Jim
Needs
Carrey.
Moms.
What's that?
Mars Needs Moms.
I haven't seen that one. I like Jim Carrey quite a bit. I think he's a great performer and always very entertaining. So it was surprising to me that I hadn't gone out of my way to watch this. And I'm a fan of other adaptations of this story too. So I was very interested to finally see it. And I think I did end up liking it in big chunks. There were things that I did not care for in it, and I guess we can get into what those are eventually. But yeah, I would give it like a B- or something.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of A Christmas Carol as a story. I've read it. I've read the Dickens, and this is definitely the most almost like criminally faithful version. There's lots of parts of that story that are not in many adaptations, like the I forget the want and the desire children
heads.
Yeah. But when I saw it, I really liked it. I mean, there's stuff that's lifted directly out of the book, and I thought that was really cool. A lot of times the adaptations are very, sort of short. And I mean, it's not a long story, but, there's been things that have been hard to represent cinematically that they were able to do in sort of a digital world now. Obviously, there's certain things that you're not going to do in the more family-friendly adaptations.
We lost you, Ben.
There he goes again.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
I felt like it's just really, for me, the only thing is the motion capture-ness of it. And, not at the apex of, now motion capture is just a film technique that we use daily. But, back then it was really this making fully motion captured movies was kind of Robert Zemeckis' passion. And in the end, it didn't really play out well. This isn't something you see anymore unless it's something like Lion King or, where it's sort of quasi motion captured, but not really.
Well, it's funny you met because motion capture isn't by any means dead. And it was used quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken, in Avatar, which came out not long after A Christmas Carol, but did did it all so much better. I mean, the uncanny valley of the eyes in this film is part of what takes me out of it. You know, I'll find myself really enjoying it, and then all of a sudden, a character's head will turn, and you'll see like the light goes in and out the eye weird, and it almost becomes like a hologram for a moment as they turn their head. And so those kinds of moments. There's even at the end when Bob Cratchit kind of turns and breaks the fourth wall and like sums up the narrative. For whatever reason, at one point, it's like one of his eyes isn't even looking at the camera, and things like that. The hair technology and computer animation has advanced so much from here, where Scrooge has like 3 big strands of hair kind of over the ear that they manipulate here and there, or let like an algorithm determine where they place. And it's just those kinds of technological hiccups of the time this was made are things that really, I think, hindered its success back when it was released, because I don't think audiences enjoyed this kind of pseudo-realistic look. And then I think the other thing that's bizarre about it is you have actors like Jim Carrey and Bob Hoskins who kind of play main leads in the story, but then did you lose me? My screen refreshed. But you have actors like Jim Carrey and Bob Hoskins playing kind of the 2 main human leads, but then you also have them coming up. Jim Carrey plays all the ghosts. Bob Hoskins plays some like random tertiary characters. And they do that with a few of the actors. It's like they brought a bunch of actors in and they were like, who else do you want to play? When you watch the credits, it's like everyone's multi-characters. And they kept their faces more or less the same actor.
You know, one thing that I think this comes up a lot with Star Wars, Mike, is we've progressed to the point now where this kind of film would be more successful, like technologically, but this film had to happen for us to get there. So, for example, like we talk about all the fake backdrops in digital backgrounds in the prequels as being sort of a hindrance to the movie. Not all, but there's several digital backgrounds in The Mandalorian, and we're all impressed by it. But you had
You guys are like taking turns dropping out.
Yeah, sorry. I think our internet's a little clunky tonight. We lost you, Ben.
Oh, sorry. I was just talking about how you kind of had to go. You had to you had to take these steps to get to where we are now, where motion capture in Avatar or Jungle Book or what have you, or whatever it's being used in, is not. It's a non-issue now.
Well,
I
wanted to ask.
Mad at it like we were at the time, because like, oh, this looks so fake. But if without having this movie, we wouldn't have gotten to the place where we are today.
I wanted to ask, because I don't remember off the top of my head, where does this fall in the order of Beowulf and the Polar Express? What's the order of those 3?
This was after both of those. Polar Express kind of kicked off, if I'm not mistaken, Robert Zemeckis' interest in doing more motion capture. And because of the success of Polar Express, Disney got on board and they set up Image Movers Digital at Disney, which ended up, the results were Christmas Carol and Mars Needs Moms. Beowulf, I'm pretty sure, was before Christmas Carol as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was Polar Express, Beowulf, then Christmas Carol. And then it was supposed to be, and then Mars Needs Moms, and then they were supposed to do that Yellow Submarine movie that they never made.
Oh, that's right. I was trying to remember what else, because I remember they had announced something else that got canceled after the underwhelming performance of Christmas Carol and then Mars Needs Moms.
Also, Monster House was in there somewhere.
Monster House was motion captured? The Steven Spielberg animated Halloween movie?
2006, with a screenplay by Dan Harmon, whoever that is.
Creator of Community and Rick and Morty.
So that was made in 2006.
But that was motion captured, or that was animated?
This was performance captured.
Okay, because it looked. I mean, that's a case where it looked like an animated film. Like I wouldn't have known that that was motion captured because they didn't go for the level of realism that Christmas Carol strives for.
Yeah, I think it was sort of that this not so much Beowulf, but uh, the 1-2 punch of Polar Express and Monster House that made Disney confident to invest a lot of money. I mean, they basically made a studio like Pixar. They made they got a warehouse and they were going to make, just churn them out. And it was kind of at that was the point where they were going to do that with Image Movers Digital, with Robert Zemeckis, Guillermo
del Toro.
Yeah, with Disney Double Dare You, and then Henry Selick was going to have like an animation studio. This is the only one that ever got anywhere, but and sort of how do I say sealed the sort of death knell of Dick Cook. Not so much with this movie, but with Marge Needs Moms, and kind of focused Disney to do the movies they make today, which is mainly.
I'm assuming you said Marge Needs Moms.
Yes. Make the movies, the remake kind of trend, just kind of created out of the lack of success of these kinds of films.
We lost you, but I think we can pick up where you were going.
So, Mike, what are your challenges with the film?
Okay, yeah. So I think I like the movie most when it takes itself seriously, and that tends to be the case for like 75% of it. And then it lost me when they felt like they had to throw in like an action scene, which happens a few times, and I feel like tonally it felt very inconsistent because of that. But then I was thinking, like, if you take those scenes out, it feels like almost like unmarketable toward families and children. Like it's a very dead serious adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which I would love to see and probably would like it way more. So I understand like the decision, but personally, I would have liked to seen it a serious take all the way through, which I know on a huge budget movie like this, they probably never would have gotten away with.
I will say too, like a lot of those scenes in the theater in 3D were kind of highlights at the time. I remember because of the way the camera moves, and especially the sequence with the Ghost of Christmas Present, where the room almost becomes Tower of Terror or the Great Glass Elevator, and like they can see through the floor.
Well, I actually liked that quite a bit. I thought that was a really neat device. Like I'm not counting that, and I'm just talking about like when they're running along the rooftops and stuff, and like you know what I mean.
Some of those scenes almost felt like something you would find on a motion simulator at a theme park.
Yeah.
And so like on the big screen with the 3D glasses, I think those moments played a lot better because it was, more of your senses were involved than just, when you're at home on your TV and this feels like it came out of nowhere. But yeah, I agree with those statements about the tonal shifts of the film. Also, some of the gags, in particular, nice. I enjoyed it. There is one part where the Ghost of Christmas Past, who's like a flame, just like starts moving around, and then the flame like stays in one place, and it happens like 10 seconds longer than is funny, and it's always bizarre every single time.
I found that the Ghost of Christmas Past to be very off-putting because they just like put Jim Carrey's face on there like and didn't alter it at all. It's just so bizarre. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and the same thing, I mean, they do it with Jim Carrey with the other ghosts. They do it with Bob Hoskins and some of the other characters.
I lost Alex, but
I can hear Alex still.
Oh, sorry. Well, they do it with Bob Hoskins, and even you'll notice some of the same background actors, their faces will appear on different people's bodies throughout. And so it's just kind of odd. Like at the finale scene where like the Christmas dinner that Scrooge goes to with his nephew, there's like, I swear, two of the same women at the table. And like, they just kept refilming with the four people they had in their tennis ball suits or ping pong ball suits until they had a full table.
But So this is, I would say, the third major Disney adaptation of A Christmas Carol. With the Mickey Christmas Carol. Would you call that a featurette, Alex?
Yeah, I mean
Would you
it's
call
a
it a
long
featurette, Mike?
short.
Why are you asking me just to include me? I have no idea. Was it
I,
like,
I, I
how
just
long
want, I
is
want
it?
It's
clarification. A
like 30
featurette.
minutes.
70 minutes? How long is it?
No, 30 minutes.
Oh, 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what counts as a featurette. No, I don't know.
But then also you have the Muppet Christmas Carol.
I believe that one's feature length.
Yeah, especially if you add in the deleted song. Um,
Which I wish Disney Plus would give you that option.
Now, with the Fox acquisition, Disney has gained other adaptations of A Christmas Carol, including the what's the names of the actor
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott, the like famous film adaptation of A Christmas Carol. But I'll start with you, Mike. How do you rank them? 1, 2, 3.
Well, the one we watch every year without fail is the Muppets Christmas Carol. I love that one. I love the music, and I love the Muppets, and I think they really nailed it. And I've actually heard friends who don't even like the Muppets say that that's their favorite Christmas Carol adaptation. And I think like something about it being like the first Muppet movie after Jim Henson passed away. There's this like somber tone to it that I think really works. And it, I don't know, I find it very touching and warm.
Is Mike frozen for you, Ben?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. But yeah, Muppets, for me, I love it. I do like the Mickey one too, because it's got Uncle Scrooge, which one of my favorite characters, and you got Alan Young's voicing Scrooge there too, from the DuckTales cartoon. Yeah, but those two are both really good, and I've seen some other ones. We always go to Knott's Berry Farm for Christmas time, and they do one there on the stage. It's like an old timey melodrama performance of the Christmas Carol, and we always really enjoy that. And then I feel like was there a Patrick Stewart one?
Yes.
That's not Disney owned at this point probably, but I always
Give it
enjoyed
time.
that one too. Yeah. But yeah, Muppets, if I had to pick one, that would be the one I would watch. And I was actually saying while we were watching this one that it made me really want to watch the Muppet one, but we're going to wait till a little closer to the to the holiday.
Alex, do you have a favorite?
Carol is. Am I here? Can you hear me?
I got you. I
Okay.
hear you.
Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite film version of A Christmas Carol. And nothing makes me cry harder than Robin as Tiny Tim and the thought of him dying, even though like the Mickey version has Mickey's nephews in that role. Just that bond between Kermit and Robin in those roles is so convincing and special. And then the music in that movie, it's some of my favorite Muppet music. And some of my favorite Christmas music combined. So nothing gets better than that for me, and I can't distance myself from it. So even while watching this one tonight, there were moments where I just started to like hear the song that goes in this place in the story from the Muppet version.
I do feel like every once in a while I forget whether it was Jacob Marley by himself or the Marley twins or the Marley brothers,
Yes.
as they did in the Muppet one.
Yep. Yeah, it should be Marley and Marley.
I wanted to ask you guys, because in the Jim Carrey, Robert Zemeckis one, Jacob Marley takes the form of the door knocker.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that happens in the Mickey one when it's Goofy, right? Is that from the original story, or is that something that came up in the adaptation?
Yeah, that's in the book.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't remember.
You don't necessarily see it in, some sort of more technologically restricted productions.
Right.
But yeah, like sometimes they'll do it as like he hears the voices at the door, but that's really how the story begins is, Marley was dead to begin with. And, this version of Christmas Carol definitely had to expand things out to make it feature length. It's, without the musical numbers and the sort of gags that the Muppets throw in,
Right.
it's very much a short story, but it's I debated the three main Disney ones when this one came out. this is definitely the most literal sort of adaptation, but the Muppets I think is my favorite, despite the fact I grew up with Mickey's Christmas Carol. Yeah, I mean that was my introduction to Scrooge, like not DuckTales, like so the sort of kindly Uncle Scrooge that you get, from the comic books and the DuckTales was sort of a um, translation of what I thought was Scrooge's debut, because I didn't know any better, right? When I saw this thing in the early '80s on CBS. So, but so that's definitely my sentimental favorite. But the music in Muppets Christmas Carol, the sort of additional time that movie gets, I think puts it over the edge, and it just really, I think you're right. The sort of Jim Henson moving on. I think it kind of created a bad trend for the Muppets. Like I wasn't a fan of Muppets do this, Muppets do that, Muppet Treasure Island, Muppet Wizard of Oz, Muppets. But I think especially as time goes on, I become more and more appreciative of that version of A Christmas Carol.
I was at Disneyland Paris for Christmas season last year, and this song kept playing over the loop that I knew I recognized. It was like killing me. I was like, what is this? I know this song. And I think I put a clip up somewhere and I asked the panel at Laughing Place, and I think it was Kyle that recognized it as the song that the Ghost of Christmas Present sings in
Singing to the Street Corner Choir here.
Yep.
It's getting
and they now have that song in the Mickey's Christmas Party Castle show, which is the first time I think they've included it at Disney World in any of their Christmas festivities. But that's my favorite song in the Muppet Christmas Carol, so I'm always excited to hear it.
The one that always gets stuck in my head is the Scrooge song at the beginning. Here comes Mr. Humbug.
Yeah.
Here comes Mr.
Yeah, there was a memory I have of that one was that they opened up I think like an FYE or something, but it was like a mega store, like a Virgin megastore, but not Virgin, in the Great Mall of the Bay Area, which was like the big mall back when malls were important. And I was so excited because they would go there and you'd have Disney CDs that you couldn't get anywhere else. And one of them was the Muppet Christmas Carol soundtrack. So I listened to that back.
If he's frozen for you while he's frozen, I'll just say Benji knows all of the words to that song, and we will occasionally start like a back and forth with it for all the mice and everything. And we've also talked about how Disney could do a stage, like a Broadway adaptation of A Christmas Carol seasonally using the Muppet music from Christmas Carol.
I'd see it. Who wrote the music? Who wrote the music for the Muppet Christmas Carol? I don't remember.
I thought it was. I'll double check because I don't want to seem stupid. But
is it Paul Williams again, or
I thought so.
I mean, that would make sense.
Not Disney produced, but Alan Menken did a television musical version of Christmas Carol starring Kelsey Grammer, which I think was NBC.
Yeah, Paul Williams.
Okay.
This is when Paul Williams came back after his drug problem.
Okay. So yeah, between the original Muppet movie, Muppet Christmas Carol, and Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, those are three pretty amazing Muppet soundtracks by Paul Williams. I've got the vinyl of Emmett Otter's Christmas Jug Band Christmas is just amazing. That's another.
It's amazing how the Muppets are considered so tied to Christmas. And I don't know why, but they are. I mean, even forget Christmas Carol. They used to do Christmas specials and
the John Denver one. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great one.
I think a lot of times they would use as an excuse to show Muppet content just because it was
families, and
mid, they didn't want to waste an episode of whatever sitcom was on, so they would throw a Muppet special on, and without being inherently Christmassy, there's nothing about Kermit that reeks Christmas, but through time and their use, they become sort of a Christmas tradition. In the same way, Donald Duck is a Christmas tradition in Sweden.
Remember that one time the Muppets did a Thanksgiving special?
No.
You don't remember the Lady Gaga Muppets
Oh, that was bad.
Christmas special that you
That was
hated?
bad.
so much?
Do you remember
That's
when they
right.
were going to do a Halloween after they did their Christmas special, whatever the one they
The
did for
NBC
ABC?
one.
They were going
Yeah.
to do a Halloween one, but never got off the ground.
And that NBC Christmas special was good. And the
Yeah.
music in that is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's well, we could go on a Muppet tangent forever, but
No, we're really off topic of the Robert Zemeckis Image Movers digital Christmas
do
Carol.
you remember when Robert Zemeckis signed on?
Now we got to
No.
play fill in the blank of what we think he was going to say.
When he signed on
To Image Movers Digital? Did we all think that that was a sign that a Roger Rabbit sequel was inevitable?
Yes. And especially because there was, I think, a month or two overlap between the demise of Image Movers Digital and the Touchstone distribution announcement for DreamWorks. And so for a brief moment, the stars were aligned. Spielberg's production company and Robert Zemeckis' production company were both at Disney. And it was like, how can you not? And then Image Movers Digital folded.
Yeah.
I think
No.
Peter, can you hear me?
I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna let Mike talk.
it's a shame that they couldn't all come together when they were all under one
oh,
roof.
yeah. So I want to ask you guys. So talking about these three films, if you combined all the ghosts, like let's say you combined all the ghosts of Christmas past, all the ghosts of Christmas present, all the ghosts of Christmas yet to come, and then pick which one was your favorite of those three.
So
if you average them all out.
Okay. So past would be. Oh, so if I averaged them out,
Yeah. Which ghost in general do you like the most?
Well, I'd have to say present. Just mainly on the strength of
The song.
no of Muppets. Like he was just a great Muppet, I think. But
Come inside and know me better, man.
But then you also don't get a lot of Willie the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Who played Alex? You might know this.
Yeah.
In the original, what do you call it? Like album
The
for
record.
Muppets, for Disney Mickey's Christmas Carol. Do you
Yeah.
know who played the ghosts?
I'd have to look it up. I know it was different from the animated version because didn't they do Jiminy Cricket as the ghost of Christmas past? I want to say Snow White's witch was the ghost of Christmas future.
Yeah, I think
instead
you're
of
right.
Pete. I think that's the big change. But I'd have to look them all up. We've got the LP in our box. That was a fun eBay find.
Yeah. So, who's your favorite ghost, Mike?
I was going to say present too. I really like that character, and I really liked Jim Carrey's take on it too. Although it's very similar to what you kind of think of, that big, loud, booming voice and everything.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I mean, I think we owe it more to just Charles Dickens for creating such a good vision. But it's funny how you look at like an image of Scrooge's past without people in it from this version, and you look at the sets from Muppet Christmas Carol, and they could almost be the same place because they both look like, even the lighting is so similar, which I think is kind of funny.
I also like Carol Kane's take on that character.
Oh, in Scrooge.
In Scrooge.
Yes.
Totally different. Totally
One
different.
of my favorite Carol Kane roles.
So in the album, Christmas Past was Merlin.
Okay.
Christmas Present is billed as Giant from Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Oh, okay. So that stayed the same.
And then the Christmas Future was the witch from Snow White.
Yeah.
Or the old hag.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon, it's Pete, right?
Yeah, Pete's the Christmas Future, and Jiminy Cricket's Christmas Past. And
Which is probably the right choice considering, what they would have had to do in animation and sort of Disney character voices at the time.
You mean just copy the animation? Like Wooly Reitherman did with the other one?
Well,
Because Mickey's Christmas Carol and I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit have the most four shots. Roger Rabbit, I'm talking about like the big scene at the end when the Toontown wall takes down, and you like literally have the three little pigs just like doing their dance, but not reanimated. And Reluctant Dragon is talking to nobody.
but Mickey's Christmas Carol was like I would say what do you call it? The legacy of Bernie Matheson, who is still at Disney.
Yep.
But this was like his main project. He did co-direct, I believe, Great Mouse Detective. But this was, I think, his sort of big claim to fame. I mean, to this day, he's known for his Winnie the Pooh animation and Mickey's Christmas Carol. So,
and what's funny is like Walt Disney Family Museum has been doing their virtual talks, and they've talked with a lot of people who worked at Disney Animation during that era that Mickey's Christmas Carol was made. And it's kind of funny how a lot of the animators who ended up on that project were the ones who really didn't jive with the Black Cauldron, and they needed something else for them to do.
Yeah, it's almost like you have like the Tony Anselmo, and it's you look at the credits. First of all, there's like 10 people that worked on it, but also it's sort of like it's captured that weird moment of time between the 9 old men leaving and the sort of gold Renaissance folks really taking control. So it's sort of like the I've been thinking a lot lately about Disney Animation and how they're transitioning now from that age to sort of another age. Now that basically everyone who worked on the Renaissance films is gone, and I don't know. It's weird, history. Looking back, not having been really paying attention when the short was released, because I wasn't old enough. It's interesting to look back at these weird moments in Disney animation history, and it's weird to look back at A Christmas Carol because this was supposed to be a big deal. This, the Jim Carrey version. This was going to be the launch of the next Pixar or whatever.
Remember
all these agents running, but.
Remember the train tour?
What's that?
The train tour.
Oh, the Christmas. Oh, should I Kyle on?
And because this film came out like early November, the Christmas Carol train tour started in like July.
Yeah, I remember sweltering in the heat of Miami going to the Christmas Carol train tour. That was probably before Mike was doing this journalism stuff, huh?
What is it? I don't know what this was.
It was a tour of like a train. That was, you would go through it and there'd be different, it would promote Christmas, the movie.
It was basically,
there was also a screening room.
Christmas Carol train. And like from the outside, it was decorated. Each of the train cars was like an exhibit you walked through. And there were like digital hands-on experiences you could do. I remember we ended up with like photos out of it, all at no cost. Like literally just, it's going to be here parked at this train yard from this time to this time. Everyone's welcome to come. And
it was in Miami?
It went to it. So the floor, when we lived in Orlando, the closest stop to us was Miami. So we went to Miami to see it, but it would basically just travel the rails of the United States and stop at different train yards for a day.
It might be the most Dick Cook thing you have ever heard of. A train tour going across the country promoting a movie.
What's funny is they did this train tour for A Christmas Carol, and then I have a theory that train tour became the Polar Express train experience that goes around at the holidays, because they have a very similar thing, and it's a whole Polar Express themed train, and it goes to train yards during the holidays, and you go inside to all the different cars and do things. And then that was Robert Zemeckis too. So I have a theory that the Christmas Carol train became the Polar Express train that's still touring. And I think they give you a bell.
We drove down to Miami. I'm not sure it was worth it in the moment, but I'm so glad we did it.
Kyle was with us, and you bought a T-shirt.
I did buy a T-shirt. And it's funny because I used to work for a division of Disney. I put that on, and so I was in Miami, as far as away from Hollywood where I worked for these people, and
I'm sure this is fascinating. You might want to repeat everything you just said about.
I was saying, you know, when I worked for them in Hollywood, it was one thing, but now I'm in Miami and there's Bob Galt, Lyle Breyer, all these other people walking around, and I'm like, oh, like, glad we came to Miami to have a reunion.
Was Miami nice?
We didn't get to go see any Golden Girls sites. I did not see one lanai. Also, train yards are not typically in the nicest parts of town. Just saying. Any case, anyone got anything more to say about A Christmas Carol?
I think the last thing I wanted to touch on is the music. Obviously, the score is really nice. It pulls in a lot of classic carols, but this movie does have a song from in my head around this Christmas season.
I missed who the song was from.
Andrea Bocelli.
Yes.
And he did the Nutcracker in the Four Realms song too, so kind of came back around for Disney's other recent Christmas flop.
Okay. And the score was by Alan Silvestri, who does most of the Zemeckis films.
And the Back to the Futures, including the Back to the Futures, I should say.
I feel like Disney has not had great success with Christmas movies.
Noel made money. I'm sure you had something funny to say about that, but I'm just guessing in terms of the bookkeeping, Noel ended up making money.
What about Godmothered?
That's a future film that will be guaranteed to make money because everyone's paying $6.99 a month to watch it or not watch it.
So I think we'll wrap up. Our next movie is Mr. Magoo. Are you joining us for that one, Mike?
I hadn't signed up for that one.
Oh, okay. So
it's Leslie Neeson as Mr. Magoo.
Great.
I'm sure it holds up fantastic. So we'll be here next week with Mr. Magoo. Then I do want to bring up, if I can pull it up fast enough, we got some actual highlights coming, because then after Mr. Magoo, we'll have Planes, then Black Beauty,
brand new,
Godmothered,
brand new,
and coming up at the end of December, we'll have Soul. So we got some big movies coming up, not just movies that killed Dick Cook's career.
Aww.
Okay, so we're gonna go. We're gonna reset our router, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.